Ben Affleck just faced a question worth $1 million, and even his team wasn't sure they knew the answer. Standing beside Jeopardy! Champion Jamie Ding, Affleck had one final chance to win the jackpot for charity. But the question wasn't about Hollywood or history. It was about presidential turkeys. With the clock running and everything on the line, they had to make one incredible decision. Ben Affleck wasn't walking into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire simply as a Hollywood star. He was paired with Jamie Ding, a former Jeopardy! Champion whose extraordinary trivia knowledge made him the obvious person to rely on when the questions became difficult. Their goal was simple: reach the $1 million prize and send the money to charity. But as they climbed higher, the questions became increasingly unpredictable, and the pressure began to shift. Affleck even found himself answering one of the most important questions of the game, proving he wasn't just there to support his partner. Then came the final question, where everything suddenly became uncertain. The answer involved presidential Thanksgiving turkeys, a subject neither man could confidently claim to know. They had already used their knowledge, discussed the possibilities, and reached the point where one wrong decision could destroy their chance at the million. With the clock moving and the cameras watching, they had one crucial choice left: trust their instincts, use their final lifeline, or walk away. And what happened next turned an ordinary celebrity game show appearance into one of the most surprising moments of the night. The million-dollar question seemed almost ridiculous compared with everything they had already faced. Instead of asking about a major historical event or a famous person, it asked which names had been given to turkeys pardoned by U.S. presidents. The choices included names such as spaghetti and meatball, leaving Ben Affleck and Jamie Ding with a problem neither expected. Ding had the trivia credentials, but even he couldn't confidently identify the answer. Affleck wasn't certain either, and suddenly their million-dollar opportunity depended on something almost impossible to predict. They turned to their final lifeline, Ask the Host, bringing Jimmy Kimmel into the decision. Kimmel carefully considered the choices and offered his reasoning, but even his answer wasn't delivered with absolute certainty. The pressure was now enormous. They also reached out to Ding's trivia partner, Stephen Morrison, hoping he might provide the missing piece of information. But Morrison couldn't give them the confidence they needed. There was no perfect solution left. They had to trust someone. After discussing the possibilities, Affleck and Ding decided to follow Kimmel's reasoning and lock in their answer. For a few tense seconds, the entire game seemed to hang in the balance. Then came the confirmation they had been waiting for. They were right. The answer was correct. And suddenly, the pair had won the full $1 million prize. What had started as a celebrity appearance had become a genuine high-stakes victory. But there was still one detail that made the moment even more meaningful. The money wasn't simply going into Affleck's bank account. Their million-dollar win was being directed toward charity, turning an unbelievable game show finish into something much bigger than a television jackpot. For Ben Affleck, the moment carried a meaning that went far beyond winning a television game. He wasn't there simply to add another memorable appearance to an already extraordinary career. He was playing for a cause he had supported for years. The $1 million prize was designated for the Eastern Congo Initiative, the organization Affleck co-founded to support community-led development in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Suddenly, every question had a purpose beyond the studio lights. What made the victory even more satisfying was the unlikely partnership behind it. Jamie Ding brought the experience of a Jeopardy! Champion, while Affleck brought something very different: instinct, composure, and a willingness to speak up when he believed he had an answer. Earlier in the game, that instinct helped them through a difficult question about a Spanish festival involving men dressed as devils jumping over babies. It was a reminder that Affleck wasn't simply relying on Ding. They were genuinely working as a team. Then came the million-dollar question, and everything became uncertain again. Neither man knew the answer with confidence. Instead of pretending otherwise, they asked for help, listened carefully, and made the decision together. That vulnerability made the celebration feel genuine. When the correct answer appeared, the relief on their faces wasn't just about money. It was about knowing they had taken a risk and made the right call when the pressure was at its absolute highest. And because the prize was going to charity, the victory had a purpose that would last beyond the episode. A game show question about presidential turkeys had unexpectedly turned into a million-dollar opportunity to support people far removed from the television studio. For Affleck, that made the win more than a headline. It became another example of how a moment of entertainment could be transformed into something meaningful. The biggest surprise came after the celebration. Ben Affleck hadn't simply won $1 million for himself. The entire game had been played with a purpose, and the prize was going to the Eastern Congo Initiative, the organization he co-founded to support community-led development in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That meant the strange final question about presidential turkeys had suddenly become part of something much more meaningful. There was also an unexpected connection to Affleck's longtime friend, Matt Damon. Just 1 year earlier, Damon had appeared on the same show with Jeopardy! Champion Ken Jennings, and won the $1 million prize for charity. Now Affleck had managed to achieve the same remarkable result, creating an unusual Hollywood connection between two longtime friends. But perhaps the most memorable part wasn't the celebrity, the jackpot, or even the final answer. It was the uncertainty. Affleck and Ding didn't pretend to know something they didn't. They asked for help, trusted their reasoning, and took the risk together. In the end, that decision turned an ordinary game show appearance into a $1 million victory, with a purpose far beyond the cameras. In the end, Ben Affleck's $1 million victory wasn't really about the money. It was about teamwork, trust, and turning one unbelievable moment into something that could help others. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Legend Discovery for more true stories behind the headlines.